Hi, welcome to CS50x by Ahmad. This is the first video of week 1. By now you know week 1 is the second week of CS50 since we start counting weeks from 0. In this video we will discuss the CS50 IDE and the basics of the Linux operating system. In my opinion, it's one of the most important videos in CS50 and even your career in computer science in general. Everything that you will do later in CS50 and beyond will be based on what we discuss now. So let's get started. This week, we will start programming using code, using text-based programming languages like C and later Python and the like. This is different from what we were doing last week. Last week, we were using Scratch programming language, and Scratch is GUI-based. It's a graphical programming language. We were having fun dragging and dropping these graphical blocks, but things are going to be different starting this week. As I said, starting this week, we will need to program using code, text-based code. And for that, we need what we call an IDE, or an integrated development environment. There are many IDEs available out there, but for CS50, we will use a specific IDE that's called the CS50 IDE. The CS50 IDE is created by the CS50 team at Harvard, specifically for the CS50 course and CS50 students. You can use this CS50 IDE to write your code, test your code, run your programs, check your code with the CS50, check your assignments with the CS50 tool, the Check50. We'll talk about this later. You can also use it to submit your assignments when you're done. The CS50 IDE is web-based. Web-based means that you will access it using your browser. We strongly recommend that you use Google Chrome because Google Chrome is fully compatible with the CS50 IDE. Other browsers may not be compatible. You may run into issues and undesired problems. So using your Google Chrome, make sure that you're using your latest updated version of Google Chrome to access the CS50 IDE. CS50 IDE is also hosted on the cloud. Hosted on the cloud means that you don't need to install anything other than, of course, Google Chrome if you don't have Google Chrome. But you don't have to have any application running on your computer. You don't have to install anything because it's hosted on the internet. It's hosted on the Amazon servers, AWS, Amazon Web Services. So from your Google Chrome and your internet connected computer, you will access the CS50 IDE online. The CS50 IDE is also using virtualization. For those of you who are new to the virtualization technology, to make it simple, when you access CS50 IDE, you will be given access to your own computer on the cloud. So on that Amazon server, huge Amazon server on the cloud, you are going to have, we are going to take a small part of that server and dedicate it only for you. It's going to have your own CPU, memory, storage, virtual, of course, but it's going to look like you have your own computer on the cloud, and you are going to use the CS50 IDE on that particular computer. If you would like to know more about the virtualization technology, I have a video on my YouTube channel. It's called Introduction to Virtualization, if you would like to learn more about this topic. The reason that that the CS50 team at Harvard, they designed the CS50 IDE is that they wanted all the students and the team to work on the same environment. Everyone will work on the same environment. Why? Because we have millions of students for CS50, and each one of them, they have their own environment, they have their own computer, they have their own configuration. I'm working on Linux, you're working on Mac, somebody else is working on Windows, and the computers themselves are different. I know sometimes even students they use their phones or tablets to code on CS50. So these differences in operating systems and configurations, they introduce lots of compatibility issues. The code that is running perfectly on my computer may not run on your computer and vice versa. And we don't want that. We want to make sure that if we introduce code, it's running with everyone and all are working on the same using the same standards. And this is why the main reason that we will be using the CS50 IDE for the rest of the course. The CS50 IDE is based on Ubuntu Linux operating system. As I said, the CS50 IDE is using virtualization. So you are going to have your own virtual machine or a container. This is small virtual computer on the cloud that is dedicated for you. And like any other computer, this needs an operating system, right? So any computer needs an operating system. So this virtual computer on the cloud, it's going to have Ubuntu Linux operating system installed on it. And we will talk about Ubuntu Linux later. A simplified, small, light version of Ubuntu Linux running on that virtual computer on the cloud. Then, on top of these, there is the CS50 IDE that you will be working with. Okay, how can we access the CS50 IDE? You access the CS50 IDE by going to this URL, ide.cs50.io. So let's try that. I'm going to open my Google Chrome here and simply go to ide.cs50.io. If this is the first time for you to access the CS50 IDE or you're not logged in into your GitHub account, it will prompt you to log in. If you're logged in, that's going to this step's going to be skipped. So I'm going to log in, AECS50, using my test account, test3. I'll put my password. And again, because this is the first time I'm using the CS50 IDE using this account, it's going to prompt me to authorize CS50. Authorize CS50, this is giving the CS50 IDE and the CS50 team access to your GitHub account, because all the files and folders and the code that you're going to create on the CS50 IDE is going to be synced with your GitHub account. So we need access to that part of your GitHub account. Again, I already told you about this before in my introduction video, the course introduction video. This authorization is not giving anyone full access to your account, only to the folder where you will be storing your code and this kind of stuff. So I will authorize CS50, and it's going to take a few seconds to generate my environment and everything. Then I'm going to have the CS50 IDE ready. Later on, if you have done this already, authorize CS50 once, and if you are signed in to your GitHub account, you will not need to do all of this. You just go to cs50.ide.cs50.io, and it's going to open the environment right away for you without any prompts. It may, again, take a few seconds, but it's going to work right away. Okay, so let's take a quick tour here. Let's see what we have. Mainly, you have the menu bar at the top here, like any other application. So we have the CS50 IDE menu. From this menu, we have multiple options. Maybe the most important ones are the reset settings. So sometimes you will change the settings of the CS50 IDE and you want to return back to the default or the original settings. So you can do that from here. You can restart. As I told you, when you are in the CS50 IDE, you will be using your own small computer on the cloud. So you can restart that like any other computer that you restart. So you can click on restart here. If it's not responsive or if it's not behaving like it should, you can just restart it and have a fresh version. You can always log out. We logged in, as you saw, so you can log out if you don't want to keep this session running. We also have the file menu. Look, the file menu, edit menu, and find menu, these are very familiar menus like any other application. As I said, we can create new files, we can open, we can from here copy, paste, undo, cut, this kind of stuff. We can search, find, replace, these kind of things. And the view, actually the view is good. The view is important because from here, for example, you can use the presentation mode. The presentation mode is going to make the, I'm not sure if you noticed, you see this font here is going, everything is going to be slightly bigger if you are presenting to someone. So you can use the presentation mode. I'm not going to use the presentation mode right now. I know that the font is small. I'm going to increase the font from here in just a minute. But let's continue. So presentation mode, there is also the dark mode. Dark mode is recommended. It's if you disable the dark mode, the whole thing is going to be bright like this, and this is not good for your eyes. So you will be coding for hours, hopefully later, and having this very bright background is not it's not going to be comfortable for your eyes. So we strongly recommend that you stick with the dark mode. I know it may seem a little bit bizarre for some people initially, but you'll get used to it, and you're going to be happy with it later on. Later we have line numbers. Console. We'll talk about the console later, aka the terminal. We'll talk about this just a minute. And then here we can change the layout. Again, we will talk about this also. So currently we have, as you can see, we have a layout here. So the layout seems like it's divided something on the left, and then this main part here, it has two, the one at the top, one at the bottom. So you can change this later if you wish, and you change it from the layout from here. And finally, the font size. So you can change the font size as well. You can increase it, you can decrease it. In here, just for the purpose of the video, I will just zoom in a little bit, okay? And maybe I can use the presentation mode if I need. We'll see. So depending on how big and small the font is, I can adjust that. So I'm sure that you can see everything clearly. Okay, so that was the menu bar. On the left side here, we have what we call the file explorer. Like any other file explorer that you have in Windows, for example. In here, you're going to see all the folders and the files that you have, and you can operate on them. You can open, you can close, you can delete, you can do whatever you want from the file explorer here, and we will see in a moment how to use it. In here, the main area is divided into the top. So this is the top area here, and this is what we call the text editor. You remember I told you that we are using the CS50. The main reason that we're using the CS50 IDE is because we will be coding. We will be writing code, text-based code. And for that, we need a text editor, and the text editor is going to be here. So in here, we will write our code, and we will have all these text files displayed in here. At the bottom, we have what we call the console or the terminal. Okay, so this is the place where we execute commands. So like in Windows, we have something that's called the CMD. Here we have the terminal, and we will talk about this in just a minute, the differences between Windows and Linux and this kind of stuff. We'll talk about this in just a minute. So here we will not write code here. We will just execute commands based on what we write here in the text editor. On the right hand side, we have some icons like the share. So this is a feature that will allow you to share the whole environment with somebody else. So let's assume, for example, that you are having some trouble with your code. You want to show your code to a colleague or to your teacher to help you out. You can do that using the share option that we have here. The duck, we'll talk about the duck later. This is the funny CS50 duck. And here, of course, we have the AWS logo. I told you this is hosted on the cloud, on the Amazon cloud, what we call the Amazon Web Service. So we have the logo for that. Then we have another 3 features here: collaborate, outline, debugger, but we'll talk about them later on. So that's it. So this was a quick overview of the interface. If we want to get into more details, here, for example, we have this icon. This icon will allow you to hide and display and hide the file explorer. So we can do that from here. Okay. You may need to hide this if you need more space. Sometimes you're writing code and the code is big, or you are executing a command. It's a little bit huge and the space is it's a bit limited. So you can hide the file explorer temporarily until you finish your task and then display it again. You can actually, from here, you can make it bigger and smaller if you wish. So yeah, it depends, up to you. From here, you can change the layout from here. You can close tabs or open tabs or split the pen, for example. Whatever you want to do about this part here, you can do it from this icon. It is very similar to what we have in View. So in View, it has some options. This one here has some other options, okay? This plus sign here will allow you to create a new file or open a new terminal. So this part here, let me explain this. There is a slight difference between the terminal and the console. The whole part, this bottom part of the CS50 IDE is what we call the console, okay? But this console has a terminal window in it. We can have multiple terminal windows. So this is the very slight difference maybe between the term console and the term terminal. Both of them are basically the same thing. But the console is generally, at least here in the CS50 IDE, is this part is what we call the console. And each tab with this blue background or navy, dark blue background is what we call a terminal window. Okay, so you can open multiple terminal windows from here. For example, now I have 2 terminal windows in my console. Okay, so that's pretty much it. In here, if you wish, you can either close the console completely and you are going to be left with the text editor alone. Again, this may be useful if you are in the middle of coding. You don't need the console right now. You need to focus on the coding, and the code is huge and you don't want to keep scrolling back and forth. So you want to optimize the screen size for coding. You can click here to close this console completely and dedicate the screen only to the text editor. If you want to open the console back again, you can go here to open, view, and then make sure that you click on console if it's already closed. So if I close it from here, I can go ahead and open it from here again. The opposite is this. So if you click on this one, this is going to maximize the console, making the whole thing a console. Once again, this may be useful if you're executing some program or you want to run some commands and the output is huge and you want to have the whole screen for that, and then you can get back by clicking on this again. Okay, I believe this is pretty much it. Of course, we will continue the discussion about this later, but now let's move to Linux. We said that the CS50 IDE is based on Ubuntu Linux. So what is Linux? So Linux, let's forget about Ubuntu for a moment. Let's just discuss what we mean by Linux. Linux is an operating system kernel, an open source operating system kernel. The term kernel means that the core of something. So when we say operating system kernel, means the core of the operating system, not a full operating system, just the core of the operating system, the most important part of the operating system that is communicating directly to the hardware. Each operating system has a kernel. Okay, so Windows has a kernel, Linux has a kernel. So Linux is not actually an operating system. It is an operating system kernel. It's just the core part of an operating system. It's not a full operating system. Ubuntu is an operating system. Okay, it is what we call a Linux-based operating system. So what do we mean by a Linux-based operating system? We get the Linux, which is only the core of the operating system or the kernel. And then on top of that, we build features, we build maybe a GUI, we put some applications and this kind of stuff. All these things that we build on top of the kernel are going to form the whole operating system. So Ubuntu is Linux-based operating system, meaning it's using the Linux kernel, and on top of that, there are some features and some other stuff making the whole operating system. Okay? Okay, very good. Now, do we need to learn Ubuntu or do we need to learn Linux in general? Actually, one more thing that I forgot to say is that most Linux-based operating systems are very similar to each other because they have the same kernel, right? They have the same core. So we have, for example, Ubuntu, that's Linux-based operating system. We have CentOS, we have Red Hat. All of these are Linux-based operating system using the same Linux core. They are slightly different, but they are very similar. So when you study Linux in general, you will be it will be easy for you to work with any Linux-based operating system like Ubuntu. So the discussion that we're going to have today is a general Linux discussion, but you can apply that to Ubuntu right away. The easiest way to learn Linux is to compare Linux to Windows. People are familiar with Windows. They are using Windows for years. Most people around the world, most users around the world are using Windows, and they are familiar with Windows. When you start talking about Linux, they will start thinking, oh, I need to get outside my comfort zone. Yeah, a little bit, but we can make it easier just by comparing Linux to Windows. What's the difference? What are the differences between Linux and Windows? And for the sake of CS50, actually, you need to only learn very few differences. One of the most important of these differences is that Linux is case sensitive. And this is crucial to understand. Very important to understand. Don't miss this particular detail. What do we mean by case sensitive? Let's start talking about Windows. In Windows, which is case insensitive, it doesn't matter if you use capital letters or small letters. As we said, it's case insensitive. It doesn't matter. So when you create, for example, a file on Windows and you call that file Ahmad and you use capital A, since Ahmad is a name, so you used capital A, right? And then later on, you want to create another file and you call it Ahmad also, but this Ahmad is a small a, starting with a small a, and both of these files are in the same place. Windows is not going to allow you to do that. Why? Because these are considered duplicates. These are two files with the same name. You cannot say, but this is capital letter and this is small letter, because Windows doesn't care. For Windows, it's all the same. It's case insensitive. Capital A is exactly the same as small a. Both of them are A. And if this is the case, means that you cannot have two files and both of them are called Ahmad in Windows. In Linux, the situation is different. Linux is case sensitive. It is very sensitive to the case of the letter. So capital A is completely different from small a. And this way you can create multiple files. All of them are called Ahmad in the same place. And Linux is not going to consider these as the same name if you change the case. For example, one of them you start Ahmad with a capital A. The other one you start Ahmad with a small a, so all small. Maybe the third, it's all caps, so AHMAD, all capital letters. So these for Linux are considered like three different names, not just one name like the situation that we had in Windows. Now, why am I saying that this is important? Because now you need to be case sensitive as well. Everything that you do on Linux, when you're coding, when you're executing commands, when you're creating files, everything that you're doing, it needs to be case sensitive. When you write capital A, that's a capital A. So you need to be very well aware that this is a capital A and you need to stick to the fact that it is a capital A. If you later on use a small a, Linux, anything in Linux, coding, executing in the terminal, files, anything is going to consider this as a completely different operation because capital A is different from small a. The reason that I am repeating this and stressing on this fact is that I see lots of students struggling with this. So everything seems to be okay, but only because of this capital A and small a thing, they run into too much trouble and they have no clue whatsoever what's happening or why am I having all these errors. They start doubting themselves and they start thinking, what did I do wrong? Nothing is wrong. You just need to be very careful when you're working with Linux, the CS50 IDE that's based on Linux, when it comes to the case. It is case sensitive, okay? The second difference is that the Linux is having a different file system. Different file system means that, okay, I need to explain this a little bit on a whiteboard here. So the file system is how we access files on the hard disk. This is what we mean by the file system. So let's assume that I have a hard disk here. So this is my hard disk. This hard disk is divided. I'm not very good with drawing. So this disk is divided into 3 partitions, 3 parts, right? I'm sure that you will be now saying, yeah, these are C and D and E, most probably. Yes, this is when you're using Windows. So in Windows, so let's put Windows here on the left-hand side. So Windows is going to access these 3 partitions by giving each one a name. So this one is going to be called C, this one is going to be called D, and the last one is going to be called E, right? So this is how Windows handles the hard disk. It's going to take each partition and give it a letter. And if you, as a user, you want to access something in that particular partition, you will open my computer or whatever it's called this PC on Windows. And then you open the C drive, and it's going to give you access to everything in that particular partition on the hard disk. Now, this situation is different on Linux. In Linux, we don't have drive letters, so there's no C and D and E thing. In Linux, we have something that is called the root, okay? And I need you to understand this very good. And we represent the root. We use this / to represent the root. So in Linux, there is a feature that is not available on Windows per se, which is the root. The root means that you can see everything on the hard disk at the same time. In Windows, we don't have that. In Windows, the disk is divided into C and D and E, and you have to go to only one of these 3, right? In Linux, it's a little bit different. If you are at a root level, means that you can see everything at the hard disk at the same time. Okay, this is what we call the root. Okay, what about if I want to go into a particular partition? Okay, partitions in Linux, they are accessed using what we call a mount point. Forget about this term right now. You don't need it. You will not need it soon. So basically, the term mount point means that everything, all these partitions on the hard disk are going to be seen inside the root as folders. And these folders just have names. So you can give whatever name you want to each of these partitions. In Windows, you are very limited, right? Number one, Windows is going to name these partitions on its own. It's going to call them C, D, E. And then if you want to rename, the only thing that you can change is the letter itself. So change from one letter to another in the alphabet. But in Linux, it's different. As I said, you open the root, so you get to see everything in the hard drive. And that's going to be just folders. And then you can assign a specific folder, any folder of your choice, to a partition, and then you can access that partition just by opening the folder. So we don't have the C and D and the E, these kind of stuff. We don't have that in Linux. I know this may seem confusing at the beginning, but you will get used to it, and you will be more than happy to work with this system later on when you work with Linux. It's actually even more powerful than Windows for developers and computer scientists and cybersecurity people. Using Linux is more suitable to them compared to Windows. Okay, the third difference is that Linux, it does have a different command line interface. In Windows, we're using something that's called the CMD. And I'm sure that you've seen the CMD before, something like this. So this is called the Windows CMD. So this is the Windows console or the Windows terminal where we can run commands. In Linux, the command line interface is a little bit different, and we need to learn that. And actually, I'm going to spend the rest of the day today working with this command line interface. I'm going to focus because this is the most important thing when you're working with the CS50 IDE. CS50 IDE is based on Linux, and Linux will need you to work with its own command line interface. So I'm going to spend the rest of the video talking about this command line interface and how it's different from Windows. So you get used to it, become acquainted, and you don't run into any problems later when you start programming in CS50. Okay, so let's talk about the CLI. In CLI, we will talk about this. We will talk about commands. So let's take a look at what this means by just opening the CS50 IDE. Let me increase the size of the console a little bit, and let's take a look at what we have. The first thing that we will talk about is this. You're going to find here something this is what we call a tilde, then a /, and then a space, and then a $sign, and then this white block. And each one of them means something. And let's explain this because this is very important. This part here, which is the tilde followed by the /, this is the current path. This is where you are currently in the computer, right? When you are in the console, when you are in the terminal, you are standing on a specific place when it comes to the file system. I talked to you about the file system. So we have the root, and then the root has folders. Some of these folders are representing the drives. So where am I currently standing in? If I now execute anything, where am I executing it inside the computer? This is basically what this blue part here means, okay? I know it's a little bit cryptic. We'll explain that right now. What does the tilde mean? What does the / mean? And the / here doesn't mean root. I told you that we represent the roots of the file system, which is the whole hard disk. We represent that with a /. But this / here, because it's coming after the tilde, it means something different. We'll talk about this in just a minute. Then there is a space. Then there is the $sign. The $sign is what we call the prompt. The prompt is it's asking you, prompting you to type your command, right? This prompt can have two shapes. One of them is a $sign. The other one is the hash sign. In the CS50 IDE, you will, most of the time, okay, for 99.99% of you will never see the hash. You will only see the $sign. What's the difference? $sign means that you are running the command as a user. You know that even in Windows, we have a user account and we have an admin account, right? So the $sign in Linux means a user account, limited privileges, but this is all you need. Don't worry, okay? In CS50 IDE, all the operations that you are going to perform, they require only basic user privileges. You will not need any admin privileges at all. The admin, if you are an admin or what we call root, that's a different root. I know that it can be a little bit confusing again at the very beginning, but you will get used to it. So when we use the word root in Linux, we mean two different things. There is the root, that is a file system root, which is accessing the whole drive as I explained. And there is the root, which is the admin account. We call the admin account in Linux as root. But forget about this because we will not use the admin account. We will not use this particular meaning of the term root in CS50. So forget about it. Don't confuse yourself. So I just wanted to let you know that the $sign here means that you are prompted as a user. This block is the cursor. This is what we use to type things. That's it, right? So this is basically what you're going to see in the terminal every time. The path, the prompt, and the cursor. That's it. Okay. Now, what can I do here is write commands. That's it. So I'm basically using the terminal to write commands. any command that you are going to write um, in Linux or in the CS50 IDE has three components. And let me explain that to you. Okay, so these components, we call them arguments, and they start with the command itself. So here I have the path, for example. We already know that. Then there is a space, then there is a prompt, $sign. Again, you see the $sign means user. You see hash means administrator. Maybe later on you're going to see some other prompts, but we'll talk about them later. Then here, you start writing the command. So you write the command here using, there's an N missing, right? Using your cursor and the keyboard, of course. This command has three components, okay? The first component is mandatory, so this one, which is the command itself. So we're going to talk about commands like cd, ls. So that's like the actual command, or the first part of the command is mandatory, of course. This makes sense, right? Because if there is no command, there is nothing. Then there is two things that are optional after the command. You can put them or you skip them, and you do it in any order. One of them is called the option. We'll write that here using green. So here we have the option. And then here we have what we call a parameter. Right? So basically, if we want to talk, the command has three arguments, three parts, or three components. One of them is the command itself. Okay, the name of the command, like ls, cd, these kind of stuff. Okay, and this is mandatory and it has to come at the beginning. Then it may be followed by the option or the parameter. So we can have a command and an option alone, or a command and a parameter alone, or a command and an option and a parameter in any order, but the command has to come first. So the command is the mandatory one, and it can be alone, right? And then we have the option to put an option, or to put a parameter, or to put an option and a parameter. Okay, so let's take a look at what these commands look like. Let's open the CS50 IDE here. Okay, so let's try one of these commands. The first command that I would like you to learn is pwd. Pwd stands for present working directory. So I would like to know where am I? Where am I standing? Because you know what? We agreed that this is a little bit cryptic. This tilde and then /. This is supposed to be the path that I'm currently in, but I don't understand anything. So let's just hit enter, and it's going to reply to us with the current place. So we can see that this is /home /Ubuntu. This is the current place that I am in. Okay, now two things that I need to discuss with you here. Number one, the command itself. So as you can see in this particular scenario, I used just the command, which is the only mandatory part. I didn't use any option. I didn't use any parameter, which is okay. Actually, most of the time, you will be doing this, just writing the command, running the command, that's it, naked, without anything else. Okay, now in this command, it did give us the path. So why don't we have the path displayed as this, like this? Now we know that we are in the root. Okay, so here's the thing. / when it comes alone, or when it comes at the beginning of the path, that means the file system root, the one that we explained moments ago. So it seems like I am in the root, and then from the root, there is a folder that's called home. Then inside this folder that's called home, I am in another folder that's called Ubuntu. Again, the / here, this is just a separation. It's like this /. / can come at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end. At the beginning or alone means root. In the middle or the end, it just means it's part of the path to separate folders, or it comes at the end of the path. Okay, now why do we have this situation here? Why not the path? Why isn't the path displayed like this, properly like this? Actually, this is a special case. The tilde is a representation of your home, your personal home folder. Personal home folder means that you are here treated as Ubuntu, as the user is called Ubuntu. And this user is called Ubuntu. It does have a home folder inside the home, the main home folder. So this is generally in Linux represented by a shortcut that is called the tilde. Okay, so now you are learning about two symbols. Okay, the forward slash, it means the root. The tilde means my home folder, which is generally like this: /home /Ubuntu. Okay, but other than the home folder, the path is going to be displayed properly. Okay, so the home folder, which is represented by the tilde, is a special case. Okay, so what can I do other than pwd? What you can do next is that you can use the cd command to move. Cd stands for change directory. So I don't want to be in my home folder anymore. I want to move to somewhere else. Maybe I would like to move to the root because that's the highest place. So what you can do here is that you put the cd, then you put the /. And in this particular case, before I hit enter, let me tell you that now I use the command in a different way. In the pwd, I use the command alone. No option, no parameter. Okay. Now here I'm using a parameter. Okay, now here it's a time for us to understand the difference between the option and the parameter. When I mentioned the option and the parameter, I didn't explain what's an option and what's a parameter. Now it's time for me to explain. The option is used to change how the command is executed. So the behavior of the command. Okay, so we can have a command. Okay, you run the command without an option. It's going to run in a specific way. But then you use an option, and this option is going to change how the command is working. Okay, so the behavior of the command is going to change. In order for you to add an option, so if we're talking about option here, you use the dash before the option or the double dash. And we will talk about this in just a moment. If we have something that's called the short option, so dash followed by only one letter, like we do -a, or you use the double hash followed by a word, like help, for example. Again, we'll give some examples about these later on. This is what we mean by an option. So if you decide to type the command followed by an option, you need to choose the option that is more suitable to you, and that's going to give you the behavior that you are looking for from the command. The parameter, on the other hand, is different. The parameter is just an input that you give to the command. Some of the commands, they need an input. You need to tell me, okay, you want me to execute something, but I need more information in order to be able to execute it. Like, for example, I need a path, or I need a target, or I need some kind of text in order to be able to execute. And this is what we call a parameter. So parameter is simply an input that you put to the command. That's it. This input can be, as I said, can be anything suitable to that particular command. Some commands, they require a path, so we give them a path. Some commands, they need some text to operate on, so we give them a text. So it depends. So that's the difference between the option and the parameter. And as I said, there is no particular order other than the fact that you need to start with the command. So you start with the command, then you follow the command with an option, and then that's it. Or a command followed by a parameter, and then that's it. Or a command followed by an option and a parameter in any order based on how the command is designed. Sometimes the parameter comes first, then the option. Sometimes the option and the parameter. Sometimes it doesn't matter. It depends. So, okay, understanding this, going back to the CD. So now I did CD, that's a command, and then space, then a forward slash. This forward slash is what? It is in this particular case a parameter. It's not starting with a dash or a double dash, so it's not an option. It is just an input to the CD. I am saying change directory, but now change directory to what? The command wants to know, okay, I will change the directory for you, but you need to give me some more information. Change directory to which directory? So I'm giving it the forward slash, meaning change the directory to the root. Now, notice what's going to happen here as soon as I hit enter. Okay, this is going to change. So now, before the $sign, I don't have the tilde forward slash anymore. I just have forward slash. Forward slash means that I'm currently inside the root of the file system. So I can now see everything that is on this hard disk, or meaning all the folders that are on the root. How can I do that? We can use another command that's called ls. Again, ls in this particular case doesn't need an option, does not need a parameter. Just ls and then hit enter. It means that I want to display the contents. ls is short for list. I want to list or display all the contents of the current folder. Current folder is basically the root. So I'm going to hit ls and then hit enter. It's going to show to me everything that I have inside the root. So I have, it seems, bin lib, which is short for library. We have 32-bit, 64-bit. We have boot, we have div, we have proc root. We have lots of folders, it seems, in the root. Okay, now what else do we have? What other commands can we run? Let's go ahead and maybe create a file. But in order for me to create a file, I will need to go back to my home directory. It is not recommended specifically in CS50 IDE, and this is a warning that I need to give to you. Do not play around with the root, because this is the root that has all the important files and folders for the system to run. Playing around here is not recommended. It's not even permitted. If you try to create something here, it will generally prevent you from doing so. Remember that you are just a user, right? $sign means that you are working with user privileges, not admin privileges. So I will get back to, I need to get back to my home directory, this one. So actually in here, you have three options. You can do cd, and then you can write the whole thing. So you can do it like this, cd home / Ubuntu, like this. And if you're wondering how did I write Ubuntu so fast, I just hit tab, and we will talk about tab later. Tab is going to do autocomplete for you. So cd home Ubuntu, you can do this and it will take you to your home directory. You can do that. You can also do it differently. I can, let me go back to the root again. By the way, if you want to clear this here, you can do the Control L. So Control L is just going to clear the screen for you if it becomes too full. Actually, here it's not going to clear it per se. It's just going to like scroll all the way. You see, I still have everything that I did, but it's Control C. It's going to like scroll all the way and give me the available space. Okay, so I am now back to the root. I want to go to my home directory using a different way. You can do cd, and then you can do the tilde. Tilde, as I told you, it represents your home directory. So instead of doing cd / home / Ubuntu, you can only with the home folder, because this is a special case, you can use the shortcut representation, which is the tilde. Okay, and if you click enter, or if you hit enter, it's going to take you to that. Actually, there is a third option to go back to the home directory, which is just cd. That's it. As I told you, the home directory is a special case, okay? Because this is the home directory is very similar to Windows, like you know, this place where you have downloads and documents. So these are some folders just for your own use. If we have multiple users on the computer, on Windows computer, there will be multiple of these for each user. There will be that dedicated folder where the user can put his or own files. And this is basically the same thing in Windows. So inside the home folder, we have a folder with my username. In this particular case, my username is Windows. I'm sorry, it's Ubuntu. Because as I said, this is a standardized environment. Everyone is Ubuntu in this particular case. And everyone is using its own, his or her own dedicated computer. So there's no chance for confusion when it comes to files and folders. Anyway, the home folder is a special case, and if you write cd alone without any parameter, remember the word parameter now. So here I did cd tilde, that's the parameter to the cd command. Here I did the /, that's the parameter to the cd command. Here I just typed cd enter, that's it, without any parameter. It's going to take you to automatically by default to your home directory. So 3 ways to go back quickly to your home directory. The quickest one is cd. Okay. Now inside the cd, I would like to create a file. How do we create files? Actually, in the CS50 IDE, we can create files in many ways. So I can right click here and then, for example, create a new file. I can do that. Or I can create a new file from here. We already discussed this before. So here we have these plus signs, and from here you can create a new file, give it a name and everything. But I want you to be familiar with the terminal. This is what you're going to be using most of the time. Okay, so get used to the terminal from the beginning, much better than depending on the GUI and later on struggle with the terminal. So how can we create a file? In the terminal, we use the command that's called touch. Okay, so touch means create a file. Okay, but you need to give this file a name, correct? So I'm going to call this file, let's say, for example, Ahmad, and I'm going to maybe give it an extension, .txt, so that's a txt file. By the way, one of the other differences that we have in Linux compared to Windows is that extensions, file extensions, if you are familiar with file extensions like .pdf, like .mp3, .txt, extensions are not that crucial. In Windows, you need to have file extensions because Windows uses these file extensions to determine which file to open, which program to use to open that particular file. Linux is a little bit different, but I don't want to get into that. You don't really have to add extensions to files in Linux, but let's just use the Windows convention and add a txt extension, which is absolutely fine. So touch ahmad.txt and then hit enter. And as you can see here, now we have a new file that is called ahmad.txt. So this is how you create a new file that is called ahmad.txt. Let's try something else, the one that I told you about, the being case sensitive and everything. Let's just do touch again, and then this time do Ahmad with a capital A. It's exactly the same, literally the same exact file name. The only difference is that the first A, I made it a capital letter instead of a small letter. Is it going to allow me to do this? Yes, it is, because as I told you, Linux is case sensitive. Case sensitive means that this A is different from this A. So these are two different names, as you can see here, right? Now, let's try something else that is a little bit different. What if I want to create a folder? Okay, now, can we create folders using touch? No, touch is only for creating files. For folders, we use a command that's called mkdir or make directory, and then we can give a name here. Now, can I create something? Can I create a folder that's called Ahmad? Yes, absolutely, because Ahmad here does not have an extension, right? So don't tell me you did here Ahmad and here Ahmad. No, this is called ahmad.txt. That's the name of the file, the whole name of the file. So if I do mkdir ahmad enter, it will create a folder called Ahmad. This is not a problem. Why? Because Ahmad is completely different from Ahmad.txt. Can I create? So let me do mkdir. Can I do something like this? Ahmad.txt. Okay, no, you can't. So cannot create directory ahmad.txt. Why? Because there is a file. There is a file with the same name that exists. Can I, let me do Control L, the one that we learned to clear things a little bit. Can now I create a file called Ahmad alone? Can I do this? So let's do touch. And then let's do Ahmad with capital A without an extension. Can we do this? Actually, no. Actually, when it didn't give me an error, but it didn't create anything. Why? Because there is a folder already called Ahmad. You cannot have a folder called Ahmad and a file also called Ahmad. By the way, again, just to make sure that you understand. This command did not fail because there's no extension. We don't need extensions in Linux, so I can do this. Touch, for example, Hassan. So that's a file name without an extension, which is not a problem. So it will create the file. But the reason that it didn't create Ahmad with capital A is that I already have a folder that is called Ahmad with a capital A. So I wanted, through this exercise, I wanted you to understand the limitations and the features of Linux. Actually, it's like a double-edged sword. It's a feature from one side. It is maybe an inconvenience from another side. But you need to understand what's happening, because when we get into the C programming language, when we get into programming in general, I want you to dedicate your brain power to programming. I don't want you to struggle with the terminal. I don't want you to struggle with the CS50 IDE. You will struggle enough with programming, trust me, and it will be a very fun challenge. But I don't want you to have this challenge as a complicated one. And I don't want you to have multiple issues and you don't know exactly what's the source of the issue. Let's just get the CS50 IDE out of the way. Let's get familiar with the CS50 IDE, understand exactly how it works. So later on, we can focus on programming. If I'm having a problem later, then I know it's maybe a problem in my code or something that I need to correct. And I'm confident that I'm not doing any mistakes when it comes to the CS50 IDE. Okay, so what else do we need to discuss? Let me open my notes. Okay, let's go ahead and discuss something very important. It's called the absolute path, and the relative path. Look, before we talk about this, let me create another folder. So I'm going to do mkdir, and then I'm going to create another. I want to have multiple files, multiple folders to play with. So I'm going to create another folder. Let's call that, for example, Ali. Any name. Okay, Ali. So this is another folder. So now it seems like we have a folder is called Ahmad, a folder called Ali, then a couple of files. Then there is a file here is called Hassan without an extension, doesn't matter. So now can I move inside the folder that's called Ahmad? Now I'm not inside Ahmad, right? I am now inside the home directory, right? But I want to get into Ahmad for some reason. Maybe I will do something inside Ahmad. Yeah, sure. So what you can do is that you can do this CD, and then you need to write the path for Ahmad, correct? So that's one way to do things when it comes to the path. So we have two types of path in Linux. We have something that's called the absolute path. This is the one that I'm going to use right now. And later we will discuss something that's called a relative path. Now I can do it like this. I can do home. You remember this, right? So you start all the way from the beginning. You get it all the way from the roots. So CD /home /Ubuntu. Correct. You can use the tab as I told you earlier. Tab is going to autocomplete for you if you're doing the right thing. So home Ubuntu. Then I want to get into Ahmad. Ahmad. This is wrong. Why? Because the folder that's called Ahmad here is a capital letter. So if you do something like this, this is a mistake. You have to start with a capital letter A. And then you can hit enter. And as you can see, it's working. So I am now inside home and then Ahmed, okay? This is one way of doing things. But if I go back, now I'm going to do CD alone, and then go back to my home directory. And I want to get back again into Ahmed, but this time I'm going to do it differently. I can do CD and then Ahmed like this. That's it. Okay, and it will take me to Ahmed. So what's the difference between this method here and this method here? Look, let me explain this for you. If you're using the absolute path is very easy, but it's very easy to understand, but it's not going to be our preferred way. I will tell you why. So the absolute path means that when you write any path, you have to start with a /, which is the root, and then continue the hierarchy from the root. So you always in the absolute path start with the root and then continue through the folders. So root, then home, then Ubuntu, for example, then Ahmed. So you keep doing this, and then you also use the / to separate names of the folders. But you start always in the Yeah. So you start. No, where's the the whiteboard? So in the absolute path, you always start with the /. You always start with the root, and then you work your way, complete path from the beginning. In the relative, if you use the relative path, it's called relative because it's relative to what you're currently standing. So if in the relative path, you can just write Ahmed, right? This is what we agreed on. But this Ahmed actually means what? It means whatever behind the $. So I had here a path, I had here a tilde, and then /, right? So when you use the relative path method and just write this shortened version of the path, it will be combined with this. So when you write something like this, it exactly means like if you're doing it like this, if you're saying like this. So whatever behind the $, will be combined with whatever you write after the $. Both of them are going to be combined together, and that's going to be the path. The second method, which is the relative method, is way easier, right? Because you don't want to every time write the whole path. Sometimes the path is very long. I'm already inside the folder. Why do I need to write all this? I can just write whatever I want. And actually, we use this when we were doing the touch. You remember? So now I did touch and then Ahmed right away, the name of the file. But I didn't specify which folder am I going to create this Ahmed in. You don't need to, because you're using the relative reference, wherever you're currently at, this is going to be added to that. So it is very similar to touch home / Ahmed. It's the same thing. So that's the difference between the absolute reference and the relative reference. This is what we are discussing right now. So let's try this. If I am now inside Ahmed, okay, and I want to go to Ali. Okay, if I want to go to Ali, I can do this. CD, absolute, so I can do home, and then Ubuntu, then Ali, but Ali with a capital A, right? So I can do something like this. Okay, ALI. So CD, home, Ubuntu, then Ali, enter, and it's working. I can use the relative path, right? Relative path means I can do CD and then type something here that's going to take me back to Ahmed. But I cannot do Ahmed right away in this particular case, right? Because you know what? we already said that the relative path is going to take whatever you type here, and then it's going to put it next to this. It's going to join them together. But Ahmad is not inside Ali, right? Ahmad and Ali, these are two folders. They are next to each other. They are not inside each other. So if you do cd Ahmad like this, it's going to say, I don't understand what you want to do. You understand? It makes sense. So how can I use the relative path here? You can do something like this. You can say cd double dot forward slash then Ahmad. Whoa, what is this? Let's try it and see if it's working. It is working. So what is the double dot thing? Double dot means take me one step up. This is something very important that I would like you to understand. Okay, so if you want to use the relative path, you can just write immediately if it makes sense. But sometimes you need to go one step up or two steps up. Okay, in the hierarchy. So the double dot here, when I was inside Ali, double dot means wherever you currently are, go one step up from Ali to the home, and then inside home you will find a folder called Ahmad, and then you get into Ahmad. You understand? So that's the thing. Inside Ahmad, let's create another directory. So I'm going to make there inside. I'm currently inside Ahmad, right? So inside Ahmad, I'm going to make a new file and then call this one, for example, Khalid. Oh, this time I'm going to do it with a small letter. So make dir Khalid. So now inside Ahmad, there is a folder that's called Khalid. Let's see, ls, and voila. Yes, there is a folder inside Ahmad that's called Khalid. If you expand it even from here, you will see what I'm talking about. Okay, so can I get into Khalid? Yes, so you can do this. From inside Ahmad, you can just simply do Khalid. That is a relative reference. Means that wherever I'm currently in, join that to what I'm typing and execute. So it's going to take me inside Khalid. Can I go from here to Ali? Yes, you can. cd double dot forward slash double dot forward slash and then Ali. Why now I need to do these two double dots? Because Khalid, when you go one step up, you will be in Ahmad. Okay, and Ali is not inside Ahmad, so you need to step up one more time, right? So from Ali, you go one level up to Ahmad, and then from Ahmad, one level up to home, and then from home, you go to Ali. So now you get this dot dot thing. So now you understand some symbols that we have used. We use the forward slash mainly for roots. We use it else to just separate folders in the path. We used also the tilde, right? So the tilde represents the home directory. Home directory is it changes between different users and between different operating systems. But if you are inside the home directory, let's get into Ali and then let's get into the home directory. If you want to know what is your current home directory, you can do pwd. Anywhere you are, you can do pwd and it's going to show you exactly where you are. So I can now, let's say I need now to go into Khalid. Can I do that? No problem. cd and then Ahmad like this, then Khalid like this, you see? So basically relative path is going to take this one, combine it with this one, hit enter, and it's going to take me to Khalid. Can I do pwd here? Yes. It's going to give you the full path, all the path, the absolute path. It's going to display it for you all the way from the root. So we studied the forward slash, the tilde, the dot dot. We also have the dot, but we're not going to talk about the dot right now. The dot actually means the current folder. We will use it in a specific scenario, a special scenario. Later on, we are going to have an exercise and we'll see how can we use the dot. We also have the dash. So we have something that's called cd dash. cd dash is going to take you to the previous directory. So it's going to take you were in home, right? And then from home, you move to Khalid, correct? If you do cd dash, it's going to take you to the previous directory. If I do cd dash again, where is it going to take me? To Khalid, because I was in Khalid previously. So using this cd dash, I can keep switching back and forth between the last two directories. So cd dash, previous directory. do something, cd dash, it's going to give me to the previous directory, and so forth. It can be useful if you're doing some stuff in two directories and you want to switch back and forth. You don't want to keep writing the absolute path or even the relative path again and again. You can use the cd dash. So now you know the difference between /tld dot dot and the dash. That's it. So okay, very good. Now, one thing that I don't want before I move forward, because I'm going to get into more examples about the options. I told you earlier that when we run a command with a dash something, that's an option, correct? I gave you an example about dash A. Now this is different from this. This is an only dash. This is not a dash A, or this is not a dash B. Okay, if we do dash A or dash B, that's an option. But if we put just a dash, this is the symbol, one of the parameter symbols. It's like cd till d or cd /. These are just parameters, inputs to the command. Do you understand? Okay, speaking of options, let's go ahead and try these kind of options. Like, let's go into the root. So cd / is going to take us to the root, and then let's execute ls like we did before, and it's going to display these files and folders for us. Now, the thing here is that ls, it does not display hidden files by default. So if there are hidden files in the root, we are not going to see them this way. What if I want to see everything, including the hidden files and folders? You do this by using ls-a. Okay, so that's an option. Now you understand. Now that's a command followed by an option. This option is going to change how the command is behaving. So now ls-a, hit enter, and it's going to show you the hidden files as well. In this particular case, we have only one hidden file that we didn't see before, that's called .dockerenv. Okay, so this is a Docker environment. This is the container, the virtualization that I was talking about. So it has this file, and this file is hidden. We didn't see it before when we were using ls, but now we see the file. Hidden files in Linux, they're always started with a dot. So now this file is visible to us because we used ls-a. Okay. Now any let me actually expand this a little bit. Let's have some more space. Okay. Now options, they come in two forms. We have the short option and we have the long option. Short option means like what I just did, -a. So the short option is only one letter after the dash, only one. So dash followed by one letter. If I want to execute an option, or I want to add an option, and the option itself is a word, then I need to have a double dash. Okay, like for example, I want to do ls-help. Now help is not one letter, it's a bunch of letters, it's a word, right? You cannot have multiple, you cannot have a word like this after a single dash. There is an exception to that. I will discuss it with you later. But if you want to have an option that is actually a word, bunch of characters or bunch of letters, you have to precede that with a double dash like I'm doing here. Double dash help, or ls double dash help, is going to display the help for which is very handy. So if you want to know, that's a very long help, right? But let's just scroll. So ls-help means that teach me or help me on how to use the ls command. And actually, you are going to see here the very first option that we have is -a, or equivalently -o. You can do it this way or you can do it this way. -a or -o, do not ignore entries starting with dot, which are the hidden entries. So if you want to display the hidden files or folders, you use the -a option, or equivalently, that's a short version here, which is just one letter. and this is the long version, which is a word like all or almost all or author or escape, something like this. Now this is the help option is very handy. Sometimes it is -h alone, short version, or --help, that is the long version. Okay, one more thing that I would like to teach to you is the use of arrows. If you use the arrows on your keyboard, this is going to cycle you through the history, as you can see here. It will cycle you through the history of your commands. So if you execute it, let's say, for example, I want to go, let's do, for example, let's go here. So CD, let's go Ali, right? So let's go into Ali, right? I'm now inside Ali and I want to create a bunch of files. Let's say, for example, I'm going to do touch. Okay, and then I'm going to create a file that's called 1. Okay, then I want to create another file that's called 2. So instead of writing the whole thing again, I can just simply hit the up arrow. It's going to give me the same command again. Just delete this and then put 2 and then hit enter. If I do ls now, you will find that in Ali, I have now 2 files. One of them is called 1, the other one is called 2. So you can hit the up and down arrows. It's going to cycle you through the history of the commands that you have executed. This is very, very handy. Very handy, like the tab. The tab is going to also continue the path automatically for you, or even the command. Okay, so you do PW, and then this one is, maybe we have many. Yes, this is what I was expecting. So we have many commands starting with PW. We will try this, maybe let's try this with touch. So TOU and then tab, it's going to automatically continue the command for you, okay? And if you have a path like folders and files, it will also continue the path automatically for you. So the use of the tab, the use of the arrows is going to become very, very handy when you use the CS50 IDE or Linux in general. Everything that I'm saying right now, it applies to CS50 IDE and it applies to Linux, because CS50 IDE is based on Linux. So it is a very nice, I would say, crash course on like a very basic, introductory, simplified course on Linux as well. We learned also how to use the Control L. Alternatively, so Control L is going to clear the screen, but there is also a command that's called clear that's basically doing the same thing. So Control L or clear. Later on, we're going to learn another shortcut that's actually Control C. This is the terminate or the kill shortcut. We will talk about that in just a minute. Okay, let's go ahead and learn more commands. So we still have we have more commands to learn. So let's say, for example, I want to open the file, one of the files. Let's actually inside Ali create a file, and then this file I'm going to call it hello. So touch hello, and then this time I'm going to add an extension .c. .c, this is the extension for C files. This week we will start learning C, the C programming language, and whenever you write a C code, you write it in a .c file. So I'm going to create a file inside Ali. It's called hello.c. So if you want to expand this so you can see what's happening here. So we have the 1 file, the 2 file that we created moments ago, and then we have the hello.c file. How can I open this file? Now I want to open this file so I can actually write my code inside that file. Of course, you can double click here, but there is another way to do this, which is simply by typing open hello and then hit tab. No need to type the whole thing. Open hello.c, hit enter, and it's going to automatically open that for you here in the text editor. So it's an empty file where you can write whatever you want. Your preferably, or in this particular case, that's your C code. Okay, so let me write something, not a C code, but let me actually type hello here in the text editor. Let me type hello, world. That's actually, that's it. That's everything that I'm going to write here. Okay. Now, I want you to understand something important about this red dot here. You see this red dot? Red dot means that this file is not saved yet. And this is important, very important, okay? Many students, they type code or do something, they don't save the file, and they try to execute or they try to use whatever they created, and it's not working because the file is not saved yet. So you make sure that you save your files before you do anything. Thankfully, the CS50 IDE right now is doing an automatic save. So if you move from here to the terminal here, for example, this dot is disappeared, meaning that the file is now saved. But you can, while you still have the red dot, anything that you have while the dot is there, it's not committed yet. It's not, you cannot use it yet, right? So keep that in mind. When you're working with a CS50 IDE, make sure that you don't have this red dot when you want to use what you have created. Okay, now let's try something here that is called cats. So cat or concatenate, this is basically going to display the contents of the file. So if I do cat hello.c and hit enter, it's going to give me the contents of the file. You see this file here? Whatever was in the file is going to be displayed on the terminal. Sometimes it's handy to see the contents of the file in the terminal instead of opening the file in the text editor. So this command cat is one of the very, very common commands that you would use in Linux or in the CS50 IDE. Okay, let's do something else. Let's try and learn how to move, rename, and copy files and folders. Can we do that? Yeah, absolutely. Let's assume, for example, that I am here in my home folder, and I want to move, cut, like cut and paste in Windows. I want to move this Hassan file and put it into Khalid folder. Okay. What do I need to do? MV is the move command. The move command works as follows. It needs the source and it needs the destination, right? So what is the source? The source is the Hassan file. So I can do like this, the Hassan file, okay? And Hassan is inside home, so I can use the relative path. So I say move the file that's called Hassan. Do I need to give it the whole thing? No need, because I'm already in home and Hassan is with me in home, so I can use the relative path right away. Now, where do I want to put Hassan? So that's the destination. Okay, so in this particular case, you can do like this, Ahmad, then Khalid. So that's the path. Again, this is the relative path because Ahmad is inside the home, so I can use the relative path. If your path is not starting with a / means it's a relative path, right? Now, this is the source, the name of the file, the source file. This is the destination, but this is a folder. Can I leave it like this? Yeah, you can leave it like this and it's going to keep the name of the file as is. So basically, you are telling it to move the file that's called Hassan, put it inside the Khalid folder. That's it. Now, what if I add something here, like after Ahmad / Khalid, like let's say, for example, I call it, let's give it another name, okay, Muhammad. Let me do Muhammad properly like this. Okay, now, if you do this, it's going to rename the file while it's moving it. So it's not only going to move the file, it's going to move the file and give it another name. If you don't want the file to be given another name, you either leave it empty like this. So just tell the computer to move the Hassan file into this folder and then don't say anything else. Or you can, which an option that doesn't make sense, but it is an option, just make sure that you put the same name. That's it. Do you understand what I'm doing? In this particular case, I'm going to leave it like this and then hit enter. And now, as you can see, we don't have Hassan here anymore. We have Hassan inside the folder that's called Khalid, right? In this move, can you use absolute path? Absolutely, no problem. You can use the absolute path for the source. You can use the absolute path for destination. You can use it for both. Up to you, okay? Anytime you type a path, you have the option, generally, in 99.9% of the time, you have the option to use the relative path or the absolute path based on what you need, your convenience. Okay, what about copying? Okay, so what if I want to copy the file that is called hello.c from Ali to Ahmed? Okay, so copy is done with the CP. Okay, hold on. Before I get into the copying, let's use the MV to rename alone. I told you earlier that we use the MV to move, correct? And I told you that we can rename while we moving. So while it changes the file name while we moving the file, correct? But can we use the MV to just rename without moving it to anywhere? Actually, yes. So let's assume, for example, that this Ahmad.text, you see this one? I'm going to, I wish to call it, for example, Ahmad.c. So I'm renaming it. Can I do that? Yeah, sure. Use MV as well. MV, the one that we use for move, is the one that we use for rename as well. So MV, then the name of the file that you want to rename, then the new name. As simple as that. So we can do like this, Ahmad.c. So I'm basically, if you think about it, it's actually still moving the file, but moving it in the same place. I'm saying move the file that's called ahmad.txt, okay, but I didn't specify any other folder, so it's basically keeping it in the same folder and giving it a different name. So now instead of ahmad.txt, it will be called ahmad.c. Hit enter, and then that's it. And as you can see, ahmad.txt is now called ahmad.c. Okay, now let's move to the copying. Okay, can I copy files using the terminal? Absolutely. Use the cp command, copy, and it works the same way like the MV, the source and the destination. Okay, let's assume that I want to copy the file that's called ahmad.c. Okay, actually I wanted to do something else. I wanted to copy the file that's called hello.c from Ali. Okay, I want to put it into Khalid. Can I do that? Yeah, no problem. So you do cp, okay, hello. Can you do this? Is this correct? No, even if you do the tab, it's not going to work. Why? Here's the thing, very important thing. The hello.c, is it inside the home? I'm currently in home. Hello.c, is it in home? No, it is inside Ali, which is inside home. So yeah, so I need to correct this. So I need to do cp Ali / then hello, and then if you do the tab, it will autocomplete for you. Autocomplete works only if you're doing it right? If you write the correct path, it's going to autocomplete the path for you. From Ali, where do I want to put it? I can put it in Ahmad, and then Ahmad, inside Ahmad there is Khalid, right? Small k. And then inside Khalid, do I want to keep it with the same name? If I want to keep it with the same name, then that's it. Hit enter and it's enough. But I don't want to keep it with the same name. I want to copy it in and then rename it while copying it at the same time, which is similar to what we did with the move. So this time I'm going to call it by.c. So I'm copying the file but renaming it at the same time. Hit enter, and as you can see here, if you do open this one right now, I'm going to open it with double click. You're going to see that it's exactly the same file. It just has a different name. Okay, so this is about now what we studied. We did open, we did the cat, move, copy. What about deleting? Okay, can we delete files and folders? Absolutely. You do the rm or the remove command to delete something. So let me delete, for example, the ahmad.txt, the one that I'm currently ahmad.txt. So since I am already in home, I can delete ahmad.c or ahmad.txt, or I can delete anything else, but I have to give the path, right? Okay, so actually you can do this just to state the obvious. Let's assume, forget about this example for now. Let me delete the file that was called Hassan. How can I delete the file that's called Hassan? rm, then I'm going to have to do this, like Ahmad, then Khalid, right? Then Hassan, right? I can do it this way. Or I can go into the folder, like do cd. This is obvious. I just wanted to make sure that you have all the tools stated here. So I can do cd Ahmad, then Khalid, like this. And then when I am inside Ahmad Khalid, I can do rm Hassan, right? It's the same thing. From wherever you are, you can give it the full path, absolute or relative path, or use the cd to get into the folder and then execute the command inside that particular folder. Again, which one to use is up to you. Okay, whatever is convenient to you. So rm Hassan, hit enter, is going to give you the prompt like any other system. When you're deleting when you're deleting something, it needs to make sure that you mean what you're doing or you intend what you're doing. So put Y or yes to confirm, hit enter, and then that's it. We don't have Hassan anymore. Okay, very good. Can I now delete a folder? Yes, you can. So rm, but which folder do I want to delete? I want to delete Ali. Okay, so if I want to delete Ali from here, I need to use a relative path, and the relative path I will need to do the double dot. You remember, because I am now deeply inside Khalid, so I need to go one step up to Ahmad, then one step up to home, then delete Ali. So I can do this double dot, and then Ali, in order to remove Ali. However, we're going to run into a problem here. Let's see this. So if I hit Ali, it says rm cannot remove Ali is a directory. Okay, but Ahmad, you said that we can remove the directory using rm. Yes, we can, but we have to use an option. Okay, so rm alone is not going to delete a folder, or it's not going to delete a directory. It's just able to delete files. Okay, so what's the option? I don't know. If you don't know, maybe you open the help, right? Okay, so what we can do is that we can do rm-h, or if it, so it says here, invalid option h. So in this particular case, -h is not available. It is actually suggesting that you do --help. So for this particular command, you only have the help with the long version of the option. So rm-help enter is going to give us the very long help thing. So if we go all the way until the top, okay, we have something that's called -f, that's the force. Ignore non-existing, that's not what I'm looking for. Then -i, then if you keep scrolling down, you're going to find we have something here that's called -r. It can be small, it can be capital, okay, or it can be the long version --recursive. This removes directories and their contents recursively. That's what I want. So it seems like I will need to use the R option, right? Okay, let's try that. So I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'm going to use the arrows here, right? Because I don't want to rewrite everything again. And then, okay, I can do here -r. Actually, in this particular case, just to be clear, you can do the -r before the path or after the path. Actually, this is a very good example of a full command. So now, if you take a look, you will find that we have a command that has an option and a parameter. You remember when we were explaining commands, 3 components? Now, maybe this is the first time that we see the command in its full form. So the command, then the option, then the path. So it means basically remove, that's the command, recursively changing how the command, the behavior of the command, and then the target or the parameter, this is what I want to execute the command on. In this particular case, I can actually put the -r before the path or after the path. It doesn't matter. So you can say rm dot dot forward slash dot dot forward slash Ali, then you can put the -r. Doesn't matter, okay? This, the order of the options and the parameters most probably won't matter, but for some commands, you will need to observe a specific order. Well, let's not just worry about that right now. However, if I hit enter, we're going to run into another problem. So I hit enter. So it says descend into the directory. So I'm going to say yes. Then it says remove regular file hello.c. Yes. Then remove regular file empty file 1. Yes. Then remove regular file empty file 2. Yes. Okay. Remove the directory itself. Yes. All this. So what if this folder had 100 files? Okay. Now in this particular case, we can use another option in order to avoid all these prompts. Okay, if you go back with me to the help, you will find that the first option that we took a look at, which is the -f. This ignore non-existing file and arguments, never prompt. Yes, this is what I want. Never prompt me. So it seems like we want to use the -f also, and we will do that with the Ahmad folder. So let's now go ahead. Actually, the Ahmad folder we are already inside Ahmad folder, so we cannot delete it while we are inside the Ahmad folder like this. Because you will be deleting Khaled as well. So sometimes it will work, sometimes it's going to give you an error. So it's much better if we go all the way up, right? It makes more sense. It may work while you are in, but again, let's just have it clean this time. So I am now in the home folder, and I would like to remove Ahmad and its contents. So because Ahmad, it does have Khaled, and Khaled does have Bai, and this kind of stuff. So we do rm. Let me clear the screen. Rm. We already know that we need to use the -r, the recursive. If we are deleting any directory, we use a -r, but we can also use, or we need to use a -f to force. Force means that never prompt me, and then I'm going to say Ahmad like this. Okay? So you can do it rm -r-f Ahmad, hit enter. Voila, that's it. Without any prompt, without anything. One more thing, like on a side note, I could have done this -rf Ahmad, and this is something that I would like you to be familiar with as well. If you have 2 or more short options like these are what we call short options. These are single dash followed by a single letter, right? You remember that the long version is -- and followed by a word like -- help, -- all, right? If you have multiple 2 or more of single letter options, or the short versions of the options, you can combine them like this. Now you're going to say, okay, but this is a single dash followed by a bunch of letters, and you said that this cannot happen. This is actually why it cannot happen. In order to differentiate between the long version and the short version, we use the dash and the -- This is still a short version. Who said that this is a long version? It is still the short version of the option. They are just combined together. So yes, we have several letters next to each other, but each one of them is a single individual option. So we keep the single dash, and then now the command will know that this actually means, because it's a single dash, it means -r, -f, whatever. This is the reason that when we do -- help, we have to have it -- Why? Because if it's only one single dash, the command is going to treat the word help, as 4 separate characters. If you do one single dash, then help, it's going to assume that it is -h, -e, -l, -f, -p. Is this what you want? No, I actually mean the word help. If you mean the long version, which is a word or a sentence or something, you supersede that with a double dash. If you mean single options, the single letter options or the short word version, you use a single dash, and you have the option to also combine them like this to make it easier for you, instead of dash something space dash something space. But anyway, we already deleted Ahmad, so خلاص, no need to retry this. Okay, so it seems, so we have discussed what? We have discussed open cat move cp, which is the copy, rm dash r dash f, yes, everything. Okay, very good. Now let's go ahead and try a very quick exercise on how to execute a file. So in order to execute a file or execute a program, you need to create a program first. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to, we don't have this file anymore. So this file is actually deleted. So I'm going to close it from here. Okay, because we don't have the hello file that I had here. We don't have that anymore. So let's go ahead and actually create that in home. So I'm going to do touch hello.c and then open hello.c like this. So I'm going to open it here. And in here, I'm going to write C code. Don't worry about this C code right now. This is what we will learn in the next video. So the code is going to look bizarre to you initially, but it's okay. Just sit back, relax, and watch, and we will know all about it for the next 5 weeks. So don't worry about it right now. So I'm going to do like this, hash include stdio.h. I know it's cryptic, but forget about it for now. Int main void, and then let me actually break this down a little bit, and then print f hello. Okay. So this is a very simple C program that we will actually be doing in the next video, and it's done. Now, red dot means it's not saved yet. So you can either do the Control S to save, or you simply move here. You put the cursor here and it's going to save it automatically for you. Okay, awesome. Can I execute this program? No. Why? This is not a program. This is a code only. And also, this concept also we will learn in the next video. This is just a text file. Hello.c is just a text file. You need to compile this. You need to convert this to something that the computer understands. And we do this using the make command. So I'm going to say make hello and then hit enter. Now, I didn't say make hello.c, and we will explain that later in the next video again. But now I did create another file using this make hello. From hello.c, I did make an executable file that the computer can understand. It's called hello. Now, can I execute this? Yes. Now you can execute this, not this. This one you cannot execute. You can only compile, but this is the one that you can execute. How can I execute it? ./hello. What? Let's try it first. ./hello, and it's working. It seems like whatever I told it to do, like print hello world, it's just working. But why? What is this ./hello thing? I told you that the dot means the current directory. So if you do something like this, dot means in the current directory, there is a file that is called hello. If you hit enter, means basically do this. Do this means that in the current file, in the current folder, execute the file that is called hello. Remember that the file that's called hello, it's not a command, it's an executable file. So if you want to do something like touch, you don't do like this. You don't do ./touch. Why? Because this is a command. It's built in already in the operating system. It's not in the current directory. So when you do touch, it already knows what touch is, and it's an installed program. It's a command that's built into Linux. But the hello program, it's not installed. It's just a file that you will execute. This file, you need to tell it exactly, you need to tell the terminal exactly where it is. Okay, if you do just hello like this without anything, it will assume that this is a command and you don't have any command. So it says here command not found. Yes, because hello is not a command, it's an executable. So how can you execute the command while you are inside that particular folder? /hello like this. So in the current folder that I'm in, okay, there is a file that's called hello that I want to run. So this is the way to execute these files, okay? If the file is in somewhere else, no problem. You just use the, let's say for example, let's go there. Let's go into the root. So currently I am in root. This file is not here. The hello file is not here with me now, right? Can I still execute it? Yeah, absolutely, but give it the path. So you will need to do something like this. You need to either do the tilde, then hello hello without C. You can do it like this and it will execute, or give it the full path, like the absolute path all the way from the beginning. You understand? So if you give a path to the file, it will execute the file. But if you are already inside the folder and there is no path, and you just type the name of the file like this, it will assume that it is a command, which is not acceptable. There's no command that's called hello. So now you're forced to do the /hello like this. And maybe this is the only scenario for the CS50 where you would be using the dot symbol, which representing the current directory. Okay, so /hello, and now it is working. One final exercise. Okay, actually, let me create another file, another C file. I'm going to call it forever. So forever.c. Okay, let's open that. Open forever. So it's going to open here, and I'm going to create another C program. Again, don't worry too much about the code right now. This is what we will learn in the next video. So include stdio.h. Okay, and then int main void. And then I'm going to do int x equals 0. So I'm going to initialize a variable called x. Again, we'll learn about that later, don't worry. And then I'm going to create a loop while 1 x++. So I know, cryptic. But this, the reason that I call this program forever, because this is a program that's going to run forever. So I'm basically creating a variable that's called x. X is initially 0, and then it's going to keep increasing. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you run this program, we cannot run the program. We have to compile first. So I need to do make first. So make forever. Compile successfully. Done. Then /forever. Now I want you to see what's going to happen. As soon as I hit enter, nothing is happening and there is no prompt, right? So if you take a look here, I don't have the $sign anymore. So this program is now running in the background, and it will keep running forever. Okay, because of this, I put it in a forever loop. So if you do anything here, okay, so anything that you do right now is nothing is going to happen. Like if you do CD, for example, nothing's happening. Why? Because the program is running. You don't have the prompt. You don't have the $sign that is basically asking you, yes, sir, what do you want me to do for you? You don't have that. So it's never going to listen to anything that you're doing while the program is running. How can I break free of this? You do, which is very, very handy, use the Control-C. Control-C is a terminate shortcut, or what we call a kill. Whatever process is currently running, get me out of it, kill it, terminate it, and then it will bring you back to the $sign or the prompt where you can resume your duties as normal. Okay, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Okay, I hope that this was useful for you. I know lots of information to digest. Feel free to repeat the video any number of times. Okay, keep it with you as a reference. Whenever you get stuck or whenever you have any problems with the CS50 IDE, go back to the video, review these concepts, Very handy. Thank you for watching. This was CS50X by Ahmad Said. See you soon.